Alright guys, and welcome back. Today we are checking out another SCP video. Today it's going to be SCP-1680 Tyler, the self-replicating SCP. Now this video was a recommendation from a viewer, so thank you very much for that. Judging from the title, all I know is that it's called Tyler and it's self-replicating, so maybe a self-replicating person? Let's go ahead and find out.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Miller, and the SCP we're going to be looking at today is SCP-1680. Object Class: Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. Site-33B is to be staffed with Foundation personnel trained in the reception and processing of SCP-1680 instances. Site-33B is disguised as the dilapidated former location of Mission High School. Civilians attempting to investigate the interior of Site-33B are to be given amnestic treatment and returned to their homes. Processing is to be followed by transport to Site-33, previously Site-38, for relocation as determined by Site-33B Command or the Department of Human Resources. Any individuals inquiring into the anomalous behavior of SCP-1680-A are to be given amnestic treatment when possible. The Foundation is to attempt to acquire homes within line of sight of the route of SCP-1680-A. Addendum.
Okay.
As of February 11th, 2009, all Human Resources agents stationed at Site-33B are to be of Level 4 rank or higher. Any Foundation personnel displaying insubordinate behavior in response to SCP-1680 processing and relocation orders are to be given amnestic treatment and reassigned. Description.
Interesting. Insubordinate behavior by personnel. So, Foundation personnel, at least at some point, have not agreed with this?
SCP-1680 is a collection of identical humanoid entities, age estimated at 8 years.
8. Okay.
Instances of SCP-1680 are 137 centimeters in height and 38.5 kilograms in mass upon acquisition.
A human-like person or entity, 8 years old, not very tall. Okay, interesting.
Because of their effectively identical nature, this document will discuss SCP-1680 as a collective unit.
Okay.
Through genetic testing, SCP-1680 has been determined to be an exact replica of Tyler Buchanan, an 8-year-old boy declared missing on November 2nd, 2007. See Addendum 1681 for acquisition details. Each instance of SCP-1680 believes itself to be Tyler Buchanan and possesses identical memories up to the day of his disappearance. Genetic testing has concluded that each instance is genetically identical to one another and to the original Tyler Buchanan. Each instance of SCP-1680 demonstrates extreme emotional distress when exposed to other copies of SCP-1680.
Okay, wow. So it's 8-year-old boy, it's a person, there's multiple copies of the same person. And he kind of freaks out when he sees himself? Yeah, alright.
SCP-1680-A resembles a Type A chassis short school bus. Bus number 216756. License plate 5PW D314. Examination of the chassis and physical markings suggest it was manufactured by Canadian manufacturer Collins Bus Corporation in 2005. No bus matching this description has been located at any school, and manufacturing information is not available. The windows of SCP-1680-A are effectively opaque. Nothing of the interior of the bus is visible until each instance of SCP-1680 crosses the threshold of the door and exits the vehicle. No personnel attempting to board the bus have been recovered to date.
Oh, snap. Alright. So there's a school bus with basically the windows blacked out, you can't see anything, and anyone sent into the school bus has not returned. Interesting.
With varying frequency, SCP-1680-A appears approximately 150 meters away from Site-33B, drives to the site, opens its door, permits an instance of SCP-1680 to depart, drives approximately 50 meters from Site-33B, and disappears. Attempts to track the origin or destination of SCP-1680-A have failed by all collected evidence. The bus comes into existence spontaneously, deposits SCP-1680, and disappears shortly after. No individuals living in the surrounding area have reported the unusual nature of this to any official authorities or made any inquiries to date. To date, all instances of SCP-1680 have claimed to have no memory of the bus ride itself or of anything between leaving school and arriving at Site-33B.
Okay. Wow. All right. So this mystery bus just shows up, picks up at least one instance of this Tyler, and then drives him a certain distance away before dropping him off, and then the bus disappears. Okay, interesting.
Addendum 1681.
I feel like these are like puzzle pieces that have yet to come together yet.
1. Acquisition log. Tyler Buchanan was last seen leaving Dresden Elementary School in Dresden, Tennessee at approximately 1450 hours on November 2nd, 2007. While he was scheduled to be transported by bus number 64 to Happy Homestead Daycare in Dresden, no individuals interviewed reported seeing him board the bus. Rather, 2 teachers claimed he left the building but was called back by a science teacher to pick up a report card. The science teacher in question could not be located.
That's shady.
The bus itself was never located or recovered. Additionally, upon the disappearance of Buchanan and all of the children on bus number 64, interviews suggested.
Oh, snap. So the Buchanan kid was not the only kid to go missing that day. Apparently, an entire bus full of kids went missing. Interesting.
That all potential witnesses at the school had gaps in their memory around the time the bus was boarding. Shortly after the bus was reported missing, anomalous activity was reported from the school's science lab as well. A cover story reported bus number 64 and all children aboard, along with Tyler Buchanan, as the victims of a terrorist attack against a rural school. The first instance of SCP-1680 was recovered on November 2nd, 2007. The Foundation had received reports suggesting that Group of Interest Lambda 33, Mana Charitable Foundation, was maintaining a warehouse for collecting anomalous or potentially anomalous artifacts at the former site of Mission High School. Mobile Task Force Phi-22 was dispatched to investigate. Upon securing and inspecting the area, and determining no Lambda 33 presence in the building, SCP-1680-A made its first appearance at 1525 hours, depositing the first recovered instance of SCP-1680. The instance was presumed to be a non-anomalous child, transported to the nearest Foundation safehouse and questioned. SCP-1681 was administered Class C amnestics and was about to be returned to his home using a cover story when SCP-1680-A reappeared 6 hours later at the same location and deposited another instance of SCP-1680. Both instances were detained while the Mobile Task Force requested further instructions. By this time, Foundation authorities had determined that an undetermined anomalous situation had occurred at Dresden Elementary School and that the then unclassified humanoid entities were to be detained until further notice. Addendum.
You got a bus full of kids and a teacher who went missing. You've got a bus that shows up out of nowhere, picks up a kid, drives a certain distance, drops him off, then the bus disappears. Then the bus will reappear, pick up another copy of the kid, drive a certain distance, drop him off, and disappear. And apparently it does this repeatedly. So there's any number of different, we'll call them clones or copies, if you will, of this Tyler kid in custody by the Foundation now?
1680-2. Relevant Memoranda. 205 Command from Site-33 Command. Regarding SCP-1680, August 28th, 2008. Attached is current documentation regarding SCP-1680. We are currently sitting on 2,410 instances of this phenomenon.
2,400 instances of Tyler. Interesting.
We have most of them in chemical-induced comas spread around half a dozen different sites. The few that have died have been cremated to reduce storage space, but containment is becoming increasingly difficult in terms of simple quantity of contained instances. Please advise. MDJ.
I think I see where this is going. They have thousands of copies of the same person, and they are all identical, genetically identical down very last blood cell. And man, they've got them kept in comas. I'm assuming others are kept not in coma, just in containment. It would be that's at least 2,400 instances of an anomaly that they would need to food or house or take care of, or at the very least provide what they need to keep them in a chemical coma. So I think I see where this is going. I think I see a resource for D-class personnel is what I see.
Note: no particular answer was given in response to this memorandum. To all site commands, from 05 command, regarding D-class shortage issue. October
D-class shortage issue. Yep, here it comes.
4th, 2008. Current attrition rates of D-class personnel are beginning to threaten standard channels of procurement. All site command departments are instructed to compose a report exploring the possibility of alternate means of securing significant numbers of D-class personnel on short notice. 052. 205 command, from Site 33 command, regarding D-class shortage issue. October 10th, 2008. Report attached, including copy of SCP-1680 documentation protocols for particular consideration. See attached studies regarding trainability and loyalty. Instances are physically diminutive but useful for most D-class tasks not related to physical strength. Given the otherwise non-anomalous nature of SCP-1680 iterations, non-anomalous other than the number of identical copies of instances, we currently believe that the standard concerns regarding exposure of SCP phenomena to one another are unwarranted under these circumstances. MDJ. Addendum 1680-2. Dr. Jones, Director of Site-35, has been promoted to Level 5. Changes in training and orientation for SCP-1680 instances put into effect November 2nd, 2009. For more information regarding the anomalous event involving the school bus, please consult documentation for SCP-1480. For information regarding an additional anomalous event connected to SCP-1680, please consult documentation for SCP-1380. Okay. I think that about does it for today. Thank you all for listening, if indeed you still are, and you are all dismissed. Good.
All right. That was SCP-1680, Tyler, the self-replicating SCP. All right, guys. This kind of answers questions. It kind of raises more questions, as do every SCP video. So I know at one point I was wondering where they're getting all these D-class personnel. Because even with, a bunch of people in prison on death row, it seems like they go through a lot of D-class personnel. Now, once I saw that they had a ton of people that they were having to house or feed or keep chemically induced into a coma, and they have no idea what they're going to do with them, and it doesn't seem like there's any indication that they are going to let them out into the world, rather obvious that they were going to use them for D-class. Now, there's a ton of questions that come with the origin of these clones. How much of a clone are they? Do they share any connection to each other? Are they part of a hive mind of any kind? Or are they simply just unique individual solitary clones of an original? Are they, no, they said that they were genetically identical completely. So, from a scientific research standpoint, this Tyler kid is actually a gold mine, guys. From a research standpoint, he's he's almost a researcher's wet dream. I mean, here you have a test subject that you have an unlimited number of, essentially, and they are all 100% biologically the same, which means you have a constant to work with. You have a non-changing baseline that you can test with. And I know that when it comes to medical studies, a lot of medical research, is the efficacy of things change because an individual's biology is different from person to person. So a lot of times it's hard to see what a chemical will do to a person, knowing that it might not have that same effect on a different person because they have a different physical makeup. But now these SCP researchers have a source of D-class personnel that all share perfectly identical genetic makeup, making them essentially perfect test subjects to test certain things on, to test the effects of certain things, because you've got a rock solid, unchanging, unflinching baseline for all your test subjects. Man, so I definitely see and understand why, from a resource standpoint and from a research standpoint, that this Tyler would be used as D-class personnel. On the ethical side of it, is it more ethical to put these D-class clones into these experiments rather than unique individuals who have been put on death row? Is it more ethical to use a copy of a copy of a copy as a test subject rather than, like I said, a unique individual? That, because they pick these kids up at 8 years old, so that also means that they don't really have a life, and from what I understand, they don't really have any memories from before the bus ride. They don't remember the bus ride. Oh no, I take that back. They do have memories up until the kid went missing, but they all think they're the same person. Man, I don't know. From an ethical standpoint, it's still kind of shaky. I don't know. What do you guys think? What do you think? Do you think that this Tyler method of supplying D-class personnel is more or less ethical than using, let's say, death row inmates that society has deemed unworthy of rejoining society, that they have deemed, to be executed by the state? I don't know. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. That's an interesting question. But this was a neat SCP, guys. It was pretty cool. Kind of gives a little bit more information on kind of how the Foundation works in a roundabout way. Anyways, guys, I hope you guys liked this as much as I did. If you did, please like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what other SCPs I should be checking out for future videos. And as always, guys, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for checking out the video. Take care of yourselves and have a great day.